Yeah. Okay.
This one looks sad and saggy like your penis.
Is everything recording?
Yep.
I'm gonna clap. Okay, I think every camera caught that. What is up?
What is up?
Everyone, we are back from the Appalachian Trail.
Finally back. I feel like
we missed you for a week.
Yeah, feels like we've been gone for forever. Or haven't done this in forever, at least.
This is the first episode you're tuning into. This is Cause Defect, the show for serious conversations with not so serious people.
That would be us.
That would be us. Brennan Jones and Chase Duncan, the boys.
Them boys.
That's right. And today we are going to be discussing something that's pretty broad, but it's a light episode for us to come back to. We're going to talk about science fiction movies, the truth wherein that, there's like a common theme where, to a degree at least, where when science fiction movies show a piece of technology, it's starting to kind of become true in some senses. So we're going to discuss a little bit of that, some of our favorite science fiction movies,
It's alluding to certain things.
That's right. So we're just going to talk in general about that kind of stuff. But we're going to get into the whole episode with an episode or a segment of Conversation Corner, where we are going to discuss a little bit about our hike, and we will also touch a very small amount on Black Lives Matter and maybe talk about the merits of protesting and that kind of stuff. So I think this will be a good episode, and we'll end with Q&A, just some more lighthearted, funny questions to ease your mind as you leave.
It's hard to go wrong with Q&A. We can always ask some dumb shit just to make up a dumb answer for it. But for those that are tuning in, I don't know if this may be the first episode that you're seeing of us. However, feel free to like and subscribe and comment, tell us terrible things or great things or things completely irrelevant, and we'll probably enjoy all of it. So thank you for watching and sticking with us.
Yeah, we
if
appreciate
you have
that. Feel free to call us on our bullshit or whatever, because we both just talk out of our asses sometimes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, a lot of the time.
I enjoy it.
I just hear things in the wind and I bring it up here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the avenue that we have to do it. That's why we started this thing, is just to talk about things, whether it's obtrusive or not. So.
Yeah, and it's not always just a conversation between you and I, or me and you, or it's meant to incorporate everybody that wants to listen or tune in to the conversation. So
absolutely,
feel free. You're not going to hurt our feelings. I'll say that.
Not at all. Tell us your thoughts about things.
If someone does hurt one of our feelings, that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, really. You would have had to dig deep, like dig up some dirt on me.
Real deep, yeah.
Like I pretty
much put everything out there already, so I don't know how you'd do that.
It would have to be like you knew I had cancer and I didn't even know I had cancer, and
that's still when you never mind.
And that's why you have cancer. I talked to your doctor the other day.
That's why you have 3 testicles. It was radiation or something.
Oh, I'm gonna turn this light off up here. All right. It's a little bright in here.
Can't even tell on the cameras. It's pretty tight.
Okie doke.
Ooh, so
let's get moving.
Let's talk about.
Oh, right.
The beer of the day.
The beer of the day. That's a little thing that we started to do. Since maybe 3 or 4 episodes back.
Since we do drink every episode. I mean, I'm sure you can tune back to. I don't know about the first episode. I can't really remember, but I'm sure we've been drinking on the vast majority of all of our episodes.
There was one I was just drinking coffee, and there are several that I was just drinking water out of a thermos. But it's fun to drink beer and talk about funny things. So today we have a G13 IPA 420 strain from Sweetwater. If you don't know anything about the 420 strain from Sweetwater, when you crack her open, she smells like a marijuana.
Yeah, or at least that's what I've heard. I've never smelt marijuana myself, but I've heard it smells exactly like this beer.
Yeah, I've I know a couple things about marijuana. It's definitely not, the smell is not one of them. That's for sure.
So
I've seen pictures of it online. It just looks green and sometimes purple and orange. It's neat. But yeah, apparently this stuff smells like marijuana. So
okay, cool. Well, it is an IPA, which is not my favorite or yours as far as I know.
But this is Sweetwater does some good stuff.
I feel like the last few times we've had beer has been IPA too.
Yeah, that's because that's what's available around here. I like craft brewing, and craft brewing is overwhelmingly IPA right now.
It's a huge fad right now.
Yeah,
it's like
I enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know. People can drink
mild IPAs,
right? Drink 2 of those and feel fuzzy rather than having 16 Bud Lights. Like you're gonna throw up before you even get a buzz.
Seriously, you're gonna get a giant belly from the Bud Lights that you're not supposed to be getting a giant belly from. Whatever.
Dude,
all right, let's talk about our hike.
Hold on.
Oh my God.
Hold on. Boss, I gotta tell you this because I didn't tell you earlier.
Okay, all right.
I was at the gas station grabbing a coffee this morning. Mind you, it's 6:30 in the morning.
Okay.
There's a gentleman in there.
A gentleman?
Yes.
Would you really describe him as a gentleman?
I would, I throw some more adjectives in there, but I won't for now. But he was, let's just say, he was a construction worker.
Okay.
I should probably tell you all you need to know. And
Was that?
Yeah, that was probably racist.
No, that was definitely racist after you said that just now.
Should lead right into our
Dear
conversation.
Lord. Okay, so he was Mexican. He was Hispanic.
He was Hispanic. Okay. Anyways, this man has got a full hot dog in the morning with cheese, chili, like 4 packs of mayo on there.
Oh.
Like it was spilling over into like a full container. And I mean,
Was he rotund?
he was just a small little guy.
It's probably because he works it off all day long.
I'm
Construction
sure.
work is not.
And
Easy
I don't care what people do, but my thing is I just could never even think of a hot dog at 6:30 in the morning, much less with like chili and cheese and mayonnaise and ketchup
amazing.
and mustard just slathered all over it.
He's got to have some energy for the day.
You know, you
Yeah.
get your Red Bull and a hot dog and you're good to go for the day.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. I would be crapped out by 11 a.m.
Yeah.
You know? It would all run right through me.
Yeah, that would
I would be
feel-
Speedy Gonzalez for a
Oh.
minute, and then I would die.
It makes me feel sick. I can't even eat in the mornings, much less a fucking hot dog from the gas station.
Well, the street meats.
Yeah. I feel like that was worthy of telling you. So,
Yeah,
so-
thank you for that.
Yeah, you're
I do
welcome.
appreciate that. Right before we talk about going on a hike,
Yeah.
which is the opposite
It is the opposite.
of that whole idea. The
So-
American dream is what that sounded like.
Yeah, so I guess for the people that don't know that we went on a hike, if you haven't watched like the last 4 of our episodes, we've talked about it every episode. But we did go on a hike for a few days in the Appalachian Trail. This was in Tennessee up towards Virginia. And we try to do this every year, get a few miles in at least. This year was a little different for us. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
No.
A little different.
No. We were both out of shape.
We are fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fat.
I wasn't as prepared for it as I should have been.
No, it was interesting. We got out there and we got about at this point we had gotten 15 to 20 miles deep.
Yeah.
And we hated everything about it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like, honestly, 15 to 20 just being a small number. Even though you say miles, you don't really encompass how far that is, especially when you're hiking up and down mountains.
Yeah.
That's
a long walk.
It is
Very long walk.
treacherous.
With 60 pounds on your back.
Mhm.
It's hot as fuck. We didn't have water, which was a huge issue.
That was.
We couldn't find water, so we were dehydrated. And anyways, we got to a point where we weren't even like being able to conversate with each other and sit down and enjoy the sights and the views and things like that. It was more or less just for 5 to 6 hours of pain and torture for like 2 hours of actually relaxing.
Mm-hmm. And the relaxing was great. Don't get me wrong. And it was almost worth the suffering that if we were both in better shape, we would have enjoyed it more. Because the previous hikes that we had, we did go out there for 4 days and we were fine. I guess it had been 2 years since we had gone before.
Yeah.
So we had a long break.
Yeah. And with like the whole quarantine deal, it was like, we've all been sitting in our houses, couldn't go to the gym, couldn't really do anything. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we decided to go walk up mountains. And we literally started at the bottom and pretty much walked to the top of a mountain.
Yes, we did.
In like a day and a half. And that was...
Oh, I just had a burp with some substance. Excuse me.
Do you need to go wipe down or something?
I'm good. Thank you. Unless you have a tampon I could shove down in the back of my throat. Dry some of that up.
I don't have a not used one. An unused
well, that's
one.
just too damn bad. Actually, you know what? I'll take the used one.
Yes, it's only been in for a couple hours.
But no, the hike, we're talking about it now like it was such a cumbersome thing. Because it was, but at the same time, we're going to do it again. We'll be in better shape next time. At least I plan to do it again. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure we will. Maybe
modify
it
was
a
still
little.
a great experience because it just gives you a renewed perspective on your life and the comforts that you have. So that's something that it's really tough to appreciate if you don't kind of throw yourself out of your element.
Yeah, making yourself really uncomfortable. I mean, we had to use a leaf as a straw to get water pretty much. I mean, you sleep on the ground We saw, I mean, there were deer and wildlife all around us. We saw a bear cub at one point, which was cool.
That
so
was very neat.
It's neat. It's like sounds fun, like, oh, you saw a bear cub or saw one, but at the same time, they do want the food you have.
Yes, they do.
So
it's
just
a
little
as scary
frightening.
as it is cool.
Yeah, it's pretty. It can be frightening. So there was a lot of good points. There are, a lot of tough parts, but like you said, it once you get off the trail, everything is like 100 times better than it would be otherwise. Like we went to a mediocre Mexican restaurant right after we got off the trail, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was
any other
the best
day
meal of my life.
Yeah. Any other day, and it would have been just but once you, like I said, sleep on the ground and drink puddle water, you really enjoy some home cooked food. I don't even know if you'd call it that.
So if you're brave and you kind of just want to refresh perspective on your life and on society, then I would suggest you go for maybe even a short hike. Plan on going out there just overnight once. And see what it's about.
I think people need to go a few days though, because you
do, but I just don't think a lot of people would be as equipped to do a few days.
I mean, you don't have to walk as far. If you
more
can
than
walk,
you think.
if you can walk 5 miles in a day. And then, just set up camp and find some way to entertain yourself by meditating or reading or anything, and do that for 2 days, you'll already enjoy or realize all the conveniences that you're missing out on.
That's right. Yes, you will. When you go to lay in the tent after a good old freeze-dried meal at night, I mean, as satisfying as it is compared to what you endured during that day, it's still... You're gonna miss the luxuries and comforts of your home.
Yeah, we were complete fat asses when we got off the trail.
It was lovely.
Lots of food. I
enjoyed it.
Drinks.
Yes.
And sleeping.
Sleeping was a good one.
Yes.
Laying in a nice hotel bed with a big old fluffy comforter.
Yeah, and a shower.
That was good. Yeah,
the shower is nice.
It was.
I feel like
running water is like it's a commodity that's underappreciated.
It really is. I'm sure they had to scrub that shower after we left.
Yeah, really.
The whole room. For how bad it was. What was your favorite part of the hike if you had to pick something?
It was the moment where we got up to the Van Deventer shelter.
I don't know.
That was the shelter that had the really nice view, and there was a rock we could climb up on.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of you probably haven't been on the 18. If you have, bear with me while I try to explain what this is like. So if you come across a shelter on the Appalachian Trail, it's all completely open. It's like a brick building that's maybe like 10 feet by 15 feet-ish. And they're in the middle of the woods. So and they're one every 9 or so miles maybe. Along the trail even more sometimes, which is it's cool. But up on the top of this mountain there was a shelter named the Van Deventer Shelter, and we came across it and had right behind it a series of stratified rocks that were, I don't know, probably about 6 or 7 feet high, and we could climb up on them and get up high and get a nice picture and or video, which never does anything justice out there.
No, it doesn't. And it was like hard to even want to pull out my phone to take pictures.
It was, but it was nice once I went back and looked at it. It made a nice little Instagram post.
Yeah, and it's nice too also to just reminisce for yourself. I can go back and look at it later, and I know what it actually looked like versus what the camera showed. And that was kind of unexpected. I knew there was just shelter coming up, but there's a lot of points where you can get kind of good views, but especially this time of year, the vegetation is really grown up, and it's hard to kind of see out over the edge of the mountain. So this was just a perfect clearing out on a protruding rock.
It was. And
we were able to just sit there and take it all in for a few minutes.
Yeah, it felt like it was all our little painting just to stare at. It was neat. You could see like a lake right down below us, and it was neat. It was neat.
It was nice.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was the last day when we were booking downhill to the road where we were going to meet our ride. For some reason it just felt like the first time we were having fun. Like we were kind of actually walking together, and we were just skipping down a hill like, we're leaving today, bitch. We're getting some food soon.
Yeah, it was great. And we had pushed a little bit harder the night before to get to a nice strategic spot so that the next day we could wake up and just kind of walk downhill to the ride.
Oh,
so
that was beautiful.
It was a well-deserved meal at the end, whether we quit early or not.
Doesn't matter.
I enjoyed myself. We bit off a little more than we could chew this time, but that happens. So.
It happens. Yeah, you kind of, at least if we didn't go at all, we would not think we were as out of shape as we were. So maybe that was a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah. But let's
light a little fire.
talked a little bit about the hike. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to bring up. We can jump on to the last little corner of Conversation Corner.
Yeah, no, I'll lead us that way. On our way home, we happened to stop by Asheville, North Carolina, which is a rather progressive city, I guess you would say, liberal. And we stopped there to stop at a brewery and get some drinks. And we noticed, of course, with everything going on right now, that there had been all kinds of protests.
Not just protests, there were riots.
It was wild in Asheville, and it happened to be right around the time we were going, and we weren't on social media a lot at that time, so we didn't kind of know until we got there, and then we could see that like windows were busted out, a lot of storefronts were boarded up. We saw one building that, of course, said George Floyd, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, that was a really neat.
It was graffiti.
Yeah,
it was really well done.
I appreciate some good graffiti.
Yeah,
it was very
Especially
well done.
you feel like you can't mess up. You know, if you mess up, it's not you can erase it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But it was interesting to see. I think the way that it kind of struck me at the time is like we were in such a calm, like serene place where it was just us and our thoughts and what we wanted to do at the time, and then we kind of got back into the real world where the country's in a misalignment or angst, or I don't know the best word for it. Everyone seems to be battling at the moment, so it was weird to kind of go into Asheville and you just feel the vibe of protests and riots and things like that after being secluded.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing because I don't know if either of us really thought about it before we even drove in there. And to see plywood and stuff
it was
behind
serious.
Windows, people protecting the stores and that kind of stuff.
And there were a couple people with like Black Lives Matter signs and stuff standing out by the road and stuff. But we didn't definitely see the worst parts of it in Asheville.
No, definitely not.
Thankfully, we missed all that.
But we wanted to take a moment to talk about Black Lives Matter just because it's so trendy right now.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I would like to say, probably on behalf of both of us, I'm not sure exactly how Brennan feels about it, but Black lives do matter.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the first thing we need to say about it.
It seems like it doesn't even need to be said, but unfortunately it does.
Yeah. And the death of George Floyd was obviously a tragedy. That's not something that can be overstated.
Right.
So we needed to just get that out of the way and say that we support their message before we go on to talking about the rest of it.
Yeah. And I think it's just incredibly strange and I don't know if it's the time that we live in just because things are communications, everybody's connected, I guess I should say, but I mean to just watch somebody basically be murdered on TV in front of millions of people.
Yeah.
I mean I can't imagine being that police officer. I mean, I'm not sympathizing with him by any means. He deserves everything he's getting. And I know that he was on like suicide watch and shit in prison and stuff. I mean, the whole country, if not the majority of the world, pretty much hate you right now.
Yeah.
And want you to die. I can't imagine what that would feel like.
Yeah.
But I mean, where during this whole like 8 to 9 minutes of him having his knee on that guy's neck was he just like it didn't cross through his mind like, oh, maybe I should like let up for one fucking second. For him.
Yeah.
1 second just to say, hey, you still alive down there? Anything like
that was completely unnecessary. I don't know how many of you have watched the video, but you should because it's a little brutal.
It is
because I mean we say he's got his knee on the back of his neck. He literally has his knee on the back of this guy's neck and head with almost all of his body weight on it, pressing it into the concrete.
To the hot asphalt.
It's not something that should be taken lightly. He killed that guy.
Right. Yeah, in front of everyone. And there's people there sitting there filming it saying, hey, dude, like, he can't breathe. He's telling you right now he can't. And the guy's just, like, just fucking doing his own thing. Like, it looked like it almost looked like it was done on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, the guy just had no regard. And it's like he sat there and planned to do it. Like, in what situation would that be necessary? Like, if the guy was on PCP or some fucking shit and was, like, wigging out trying to grab anything you could, like, maybe you'd have to hold him.
You or something.
Yeah, maybe you'd have to hold him down. And I don't know the full situation of what happened there, but it did not look like George Floyd was trying to be apprehensive or
It didn't seem like it.
to be violent in any way.
No.
I mean, I don't know what happened previous to that situation, but it didn't warrant him dying.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Very, very little warrants a death on the street like that. It would have to be some sort of, I mean, even if it was a crime of passion, there's still some sort of argument to be had. That's why it would be taken to court. This guy did not deserve to have his life taken away from him like that, no matter what he did. Even if, let's say the media would likely right now be trying to make him look like a model citizen. Even if he was not a model citizen, that's not just at all.
I mean, you shouldn't be held down by people that are supposed to be protecting and serving the public till you just fucking pass out and die in front of everyone like an animal on the street. I mean, it's just there's no excuse for it. There's no way to even make it look like it was like the silver lining of any sort.
Yeah,
there really is nothing good to it. Like,
No.
I hope the guy gets the worst punishment that he can get, and he just rots somewhere forever. I'm sure. Oh man, if he goes to prison, or when he goes to prison,
he's gonna be somebody's butt baby.
Yeah, he will die very soon.
Yeah. From internal hemorrhaging.
Yeah. He will get his insides poked out.
Yeah, he will. That's what it seems like, at least. God, that's hilarious. But we wanted to mention and really kind of express to you how we are on the Black Lives Matter movement side before we talk about how it's quite possible that the Black Lives Matter movement is manufactured to a degree.
Yeah, I'd have to say to a degree. There's obviously a lot of passion and a lot of people that are involved in it that are not on sort of that top tier of the whole platform, right? But I think it is very possible that whether these people are associated with Black Lives Matter or not, I think there are some people included in the protests and riots that are specifically put there
Absolutely.
to create mayhem.
And it makes it that big of a deal.
To make it a mockery, too, of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
To make it seem like, because the way the media, of course, is going to blow it out of proportion is, there's riots and people trashing stuff everywhere. And I know a lot of that did go on. But, I mean, to some degree, I think it was manufactured and meant to seem like a bad thing so that it wouldn't start gaining the pull that it has now.
Yeah. And what really gets me is that these kind of injustices are not new.
Yeah.
This is not the first time something like this has happened.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been happening throughout history. It's just now that people are starting to wake up to it.
Yeah, we're all connected more.
Right. And what helps people wake up to it more is the media. The media covers this stuff. So in a way, that's what I'm saying, that it seems partly manufactured, is that it's not new, but there's this George Floyd thing with the riots and stuff like that. I don't know that kind of stuff has happened in a very long time, at least in the United States. I know it's not the first time there have been riots over civil liberties and that kind of stuff.
Right, of course. That's been happening.
Right, but it's starting to become even more of a big deal now, and a lot of me says that my gut just tells me that there's something behind that, somebody pushing the pencil in the right direction. And
yeah, I think there could be another side to it as well, is that the younger generation doesn't seem to want to put up with like racism and segregation and stuff far as much as like, the couple generations above us, baby boomers and above, they were kind of brought into a situation where it was normal. It would seem normal. Like even like the segregation they were probably upset with. And even if they say they weren't upset with it, if there's like a white neighborhood and like a black family moves in,
they talk about it.
Yeah, they talk about it. I mean, it would be the same, I think, the same way if there was a black neighborhood and white people moved into it.
For sure.
There's going to be conversation. In all, it seems like nobody should give a shit, but unfortunately it is. But now I think that people, like I said, the younger generation are tending to realize how stupid it is and how there is no differences between anybody of any color and any race. I mean, you're going to have your differences as far as like the environment,
cultural
you grow up
differences, and they just so happen to sometimes coincide with the color of the skin. It doesn't necessarily mean that one shade of this one type of black or one type of brown or one type of white is going to be the exact same as any other shade of one type of black or one type of white. As far as cultural differences go, they're not all going to be the same in that regard. But they do. The cultural differences come along with different race. I'm not an expert on this, so don't quote me, or if I'm being ignorant right now, please call me out on it. But I do. It seems like that they coincide because black people, as far as I know, every person that is black came from Africa. The black that we know of, the modern black person all came from Africa, as most of the time from the slave trade and stuff. They moved around in Central America, South America, and in North America. That's where they came from here, and that's why they're most prevalent in Africa. I mean, but there are dark-skinned South Asian people and stuff like that are almost black in their skin tone, but you can tell that there's facial structure differences and that kind of stuff. So it's never a black and white issue. It's like it's a smear of culture and color, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think we're starting to see a lot more integration, I guess, and it seems like people of different races are kind of all just mashing together, which, you know, I get it to the point of like it's kind of nice to have the differences among people and just being culturally different, but at the same time it's all being smashed together so much we're all kind of becoming one person. So they both have their pros and cons to them. I mean, it's hard to weigh those out, you know, tit for tat, if you will. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, I was going to move on to protesting a little bit just because I wanted to cover a small amount on the merits of protesting, because peaceful protests...
It's the First Amendment.
Yeah, peaceful protests should be not only condoned but encouraged, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think in some cities you're seeing that right now. I was telling... I don't know if I should say Chase or you, but I was telling you earlier about this... in Seattle, Washington right now, they're having what's called an autonomous, I can't remember the rest of it, society or some shit. But basically, like, the police station locked up, boarded up, handed their shit over to the people. And the people have closed off a whole part of the city that they're just running themselves. There's no government involved, no state like nothing involved except for the people. And they're out on the streets, you know, with kids are drawing on the street with chalk. There's people just playing music out on the streets. There's people giving big talks, and it's like a peaceful situation. So it's interesting what happens when you give people the power back. I mean, eventually they're just going to take it back, and it's going to be like the easy way or the hard way type of situation. But hopefully, I think the main point to get out there is that there is a peaceful way to do it, right? And then there's the bad way to protest and show your anger against, you know, the system.
It doesn't really... Destroying things around you like that, I don't know that it would really make that much of a difference.
I don't see how it would help at all, especially when a lot of them are small businesses. Like, I know a lot of people went into Target and like destroyed Targets and shit like that, but
yeah, you might have an argument for that. I haven't thought too far into this, but most of the time that kind of destructive behavior causes nothing but negative media.
And the thing is, it's your city, it's your tax dollars. Like, you're gonna have to pay for the cleanup of it if you have a job. I mean, it's unfortunate. I understand that people are angry, and I can't say that any of us always act the best way when we get emotional. But there is, I think, a right and a wrong way to go about it. You know, when you're obviously emotional, no one's going to take you serious. No one's going to want to listen to you. Even if you're just having a conversation with your friend or someone next to you and they start getting emotional, you immediately just want to tune them out and just, you know, call them a bitch or something. So, you know.
That's you.
Yeah, exactly. So me calling you a bitch.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The point is, I'm just trying to make is that if you can stay level-headed and just find a way to actually change the system without destroying things, that's probably a better way to go.
Probably.
Hard for me to say. I am a white, privileged American.
Yeah, both of us are extremely privileged.
I thought you were going to say extremely white. But.
Yeah, we are. We are both extremely white. We're both white males. We both recognize how lucky we are to be put in the position that we're put in right now.
Right.
And we know, well, at least I know that I'll never understand
yeah,
where black people come from with the daily struggles that they have. That's not something that I have to worry about on a daily basis.
It's a mindset that we'll just never have to have or never understand. And it's unfortunate that it's that way. I mean, I think it's, bullshit that, we don't have to worry and some other people do, even though we may be the exact same people. So unfortunately, we're definitely not here to try to say, which is why I was kind of apprehensive to talk about this at all. But, in no way am I saying that anybody's wrong or right to do what they do. But I think there, of course, are smart ways to go about it, and I think that things actually do need to be done to change these injustices that have been going on forever in America, pretty much. So
it'll change. That's what we're doing. That's what everybody's working on right now. And I do want to say something about posting the black square on social media.
I just feel like what you're saying. I'm just people. You go ahead. Sorry.
What? You gonna shut up?
Yep, that was it.
Okay, thank you. I was just gonna touch on that because I'm curious what posting a black square on social media actually accomplishes.
There's no social change behind it. It's just like those people. It's like wanting to get attention by saying you agree with other people.
That's kind of what it seems like. I feel like you can just do so much more good. How many people are going to join the Black Lives Matter movement after seeing a black square? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And why not put your phone down and go out and be vocal and talk to people about things?
And you can donate to different charities and organizations that give money to black families in need and that kind of stuff. There's just, I'm not an expert on this again, but I feel like there are better ways to do it. And maybe, I don't know, I don't want to sit here and hate on the black square thing for forever, but I was just curious about what maybe some people would have to say about its efficacy.
Yeah, the only thing I could think is that, like, you know, if I'm scrolling through Facebook or Instagram on Blackout Tuesday or whatever it was, and obviously I saw a bunch of black squares, so it did make me look of like, why the hell do I keep seeing these from everybody? So
it annoyed me more than anything, honestly.
In a way, it gets you kind of tuned in to see what's going on. If you were just completely oblivious by this point, it may give you some idea of what's happening in the world. But I understand. It's more. It's like all those people that, you know, when some tragedy happens online and they're the first people to
don't forget about me today.
Yeah. That's all I think of is Anthony Jeselnik when I hear that.
Yeah, Anthony's that guy's funny, man. Anthony Jeselnik. I couldn't say his last name.
Yeah, but it's people's cry for attention just so they can feel included in the topic without actually really doing anything at all.
Yeah, right.
Like, I haven't moved off my couch or had any conversations on this, but I posted a black square on Instagram.
What?
Yep. Everyone like me. I am a black person.
I'm
lover.
Down with the black people.
Yeah. Yes, they love me.
I'm white, but I'm cool.
Yeah, probably not.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm done with talking about this. We didn't want to touch on it like too much, but at the same time, we wanted to hit it.
I will say, since we didn't cover the fact that it could have been orchestrated that well. I did see a lot of conspiracies about like the cop and that force that killed those 4 cops that killed the guy or George Floyd, and there was some weird conspiracies out about those people and how they were paid to do. The guy fucking sat there looking around like he was taking a lunch break or some shit while killing somebody. Like, and there's people yelling at you. For me, like, no normal person is gonna do that without
he definitely wasn't normal.
Without some incentive behind it, though, right? You know, you think people join the force to protect and serve.
Maybe he just has this embedded hate, like a lot of Americans really do. I mean, there's embedded hate for people of a different skin color, and that's just like something that I guess I'll never understand.
Yeah, I won't ever understand that. I don't want to understand that. But it is. I'd say people should look it up just if you want to just dive into some rabbit hole type shit. Just look up some conspiracies on it. I'm sure there's 100 out there by now.
Yeah, learn something about yourself and about what other people think.
Yeah.
At least on the fringe of reality. It's an interesting thing to do, whether you agree with the stuff or not. But let's move on to talking about science fiction. We've talked about this shit too long.
This is quite a jump, but it's okay.
Yeah, it is. And we are on a little a nice little flowy schedule of what we're doing. Science fiction kind of fits in between the moon landing and our next topic. I honestly forget what it is off the top of my head.
When we were talking about space exploration and all kinds of stuff like that. So, and which is a lot to do with science fiction.
Yeah, and they covered
aliens,
space aliens, and all UFOs, that kind of shit before we even went to the moon. So that's something that's kind of been ingrained in us from a long time ago, and we wanted to just talk about it a little bit. Have a lighthearted episode.
So what do you think? What do you think immediately when you hear science fiction?
I immediately think like Alien movies, and just I guess things that have unique technologies and that kind of stuff that we don't normally see.
It's weird for me. I know that's kind of more what science fiction is pushing towards, robots and futuristic tech and all that. But for some reason, like Lord of the Rings just pops in my head.
Yeah, I don't even.
It's more
I
of
don't
like
know
a
that I call that.
fantasy
I was going to
type
say fantasy, not
Yeah.
really as much science fiction.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that's
it's not
just the
super
first thing.
science based.
Yeah.
It's more. It's fantasy.
Yeah, just
it's,
folklore type stuff.
and like magical. And I love Lord of the Rings. I'm not talking shit about it because Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite movie series ever. But generally, I think of stuff like Star Trek or Star Wars. Close Encounters of the Third Kind and that kind of stuff. Alien movies.
The turd kind.
The Arrival of the Turd Kind.
Yes.
Have you seen The Arrival?
Mm-hmm.
The Arrival is a great movie. I
It
would
is
recommend
great.
it highly to those people out there. It's a very interesting. It's not as much about the alien as it is about communication and language. It's a very unique movie. I would check it out.
Yeah, it's very. I know we've had this conversation 100 times, and sometimes on here. But if we were visited by some alien creature, I think you and I have a little difference of opinion on as far as how that would go down. I'm looking at like Tom Cruise War of the Worlds type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They give us like a few minutes to get on board, and then they just start blasting people.
Yeah, I just I don't know that it would go down that way.
And maybe I've just really seen too many science fiction movies.
I think it would be a lot more along the lines of an observational kind of relationship, and maybe a very slow and methodical, very passive takeover of things. And when we figure out it's happening, it's too late.
I think, I think it goes back to me just seeing too many science fiction movies, but it seems like we're real trigger happy.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to science fiction movies. Even in Arrival, we were like, it's like, oh, we can't understand them. Let's set a bomb off in, one of the pods.
They look scary. Sound scary. That's a big thing. They
have bigger technology. Let's just try to wipe them out.
Yeah.
As if they didn't think about that before they got here.
Human thinking.
Yeah. I mean,
That's strange. Kill it.
But we do that here, like on just a personal level, like when people come to our country or come to our neighborhood again, it's just something strange to us. We just automatically like dismiss it and want to put it away or just get rid of it. Like, it kind of disrupts the status quo. I don't like it. Let's just get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's so hard for us to change. And when we see something that far advanced than us, we're going to be terrified.
Yeah. Especially in a group, you can't even imagine what a group would react to seeing a spaceship float down from the sky.
Hell no. There would be pure anarchy going on in the cities.
Right.
If you think there's riots now, wait till that shit happens.
Wow. I couldn't even imagine. I would be very excited.
I would be excited.
It would be an interesting thing.
Well, I say I would be excited. In theory, I'd be excited. Maybe like when I looked back on it, like 50 years later, I'd be like, that was kind of cool. But at the time, I wouldn't know how to feel. I would just be in complete shock.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, I feel like I would somewhat be relieved and just be like, well, the government's not hiding this shit. We can all, we can all see it. We know what's going on now. So, we're all on the same page at least. There's no sort of hierarchy anymore. You just squashed all that. We all know what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. But part of me says that if it was in the public eye, that would have been some sort of planned operation as a distraction for something else. That's how I started to see the world. Everything's a ploy.
Right. If they're distracting us with real aliens from another place, I'm fine with that. I'm going to jump right on board to wherever they're pushing me to go because that sounds awesome. There's certain things I'll just be happy with. It'll be fine. I don't need to know every
part of what
secret.
I think they're distracting us from has to do with the planet itself, and I'm not going to dive into that at all right now.
Yeah. You can make a science fiction movie out of it.
I'm writing a science fiction book about it.
Yeah. I think what the cool thing that I know I brought up fantasy, so I think the thing that distinguishes fantasy from science fiction is that science fiction has like a little bit of plausibility to it.
Yeah.
It's like we always try to extrapolate like what technology we have now in such a short time, in 1,000 years, 500 years, think about this crazy technology we'll have. And that's just kind of how it started. But it's all with the idea of like where we can get from now to the future or in a different world or something different reality. It all has a bit of like real science behind it, I guess is the best way, rather than just making up a mystery land or I guess there's a lot of utopias and stuff in science fiction, but
yeah, there are, and those are more like political commentaries a lot of the time when they're
like a satire type thing.
Well, sort of. But like the book I've talked to you about, 1982 and Brave New World, those two books in particular, when I read them in college, those are utopian books that are political commentaries. You need to read one of them at least.
I know you've been telling me.
But they're a very interesting thing to read. But I enjoy science fiction in a different way than I enjoy fantasy, because it seems like in a way that science fiction is rooted in this reality and fantasy is completely gone away from that.
I think you're right. I think I didn't really put that together, but I think you're right. Which to me is what's so beautiful. First of all, about books in general, you just create a whole different world in your brain and you just live there while you're reading it. But that's why I do enjoy fantasy type movies and things like that, because it's just so completely different than what we experience. Science fiction is what like starts to make you think, with the movie Interstellar and stuff like that. Like, it's pretty cool how accurate a lot of it is and how not far off it is, and it just makes you wonder what's really out there. It kind of gets you on a path of starting with something real and just making it into possibly something crazy, or maybe even true all the way down.
Yeah, but I mean, they take away from the technology that we have of today, and then kind of build on that to make something crazy. So it seems like it's possible, and I really think that a lot of the basic stuff that they show in science fiction movies, there actually probably is something very similar along the lines to those technologies that they're showing. Because I remember seeing touchscreens on the TV when I was little on science fiction shows and stuff like that, and I didn't think that was ever going to happen.
Oh, no.
And here we are. Touchscreens are incredibly commonplace.
Right. So. The radio in my car is a touchscreen. Like, for what? I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. That's just one of many things that we see, like ray guns and that kind of stuff. I know laser guns and laser technology has developed outside of the public eye to probably a ridiculous degree.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because we already have lasers that you can buy in the public that like kill bugs and stuff.
Like burn holes and shit.
Yeah, so I can only imagine what they're experimenting on.
I don't. It's like at one point it would be fun to know, it seems like, but then it's like once you know, there's no going back.
Yeah,
there's no going back.
Take the red pill.
In a way, like I can understand both sides of it. It seems nice to be ignorantly bliss and just go on about your life and just not ever have to worry about that kind of stuff. But then it also feels like you're actually missing out on reality in general. But do you think some of these science fiction artists or like authors or people that made the movies or anything, do you think that they're a part of that media trying to push us in a certain direction or make us think a certain
possibly thing? Some of the ones that like are maybe hiring writers and that kind of stuff, I guess, would be the main places you would have to look if you were looking for somebody that was trying to spread disinformation actively. But maybe it's so far ingrained that they don't even have to do that anymore, hardly.
Yeah,
people just make up their own veils for reality. And
but I wonder how many like younger people, or it doesn't even have to be younger people, but just like slightly uneducated in like the science realm, how many people watch science fiction movies that are really close to like real life and actually being factual and take it for like pretty much truth.
Yeah.
And like think that it could be a real thing just because they saw it in a movie.
Youngsters, I can imagine youngsters would kind of take stuff like that and run with it.
Yeah. So I don't like. It's hard. You can't really say it's a good thing or a bad thing because they're blatantly telling you it's not true, or most of it's not true. So I guess it's just whatever you make of it. But I'm sure a lot of people take it to be very serious a lot of the times, and that could, I guess, potentially be a bad thing. I don't know. It's hard to say.
And things like the movie Avatar, which is a monumental effort, and it's amazing. And they're going to end up, I think they're talking about doing 5 of them. They're at least going to do 3.
Avatars? Mm-hmm. I cannot wait for another one. Which is
amazing. Yeah, I think the next one's coming out in 2021.
If you give anybody the choice, they're going to want to do that.
Yeah.
Do you think... sorry, this brought up just a weird point. Do you think that kind of depresses people?
That's kind of where I was going to lean to, is that I feel like that might be a potential avenue to take people away consciously from the planet that they're on. They kind of wander the stars when most of the answers that they're seeking are actually within and on the planet. So they're just kind of they see these possibilities way away, and they don't think as much about protecting the planet.
It's just that blissfulness, man.
Yeah.
I can say two sides to that. Either one, try to stay grounded and just realize that all the answers you have are right here, or just have fun using your life however you want and just be completely out there if that's what you want to do. But I can totally see that, like, watching like Lord of the Rings, being in the Shire and being on Pandora and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like that all seems way better than my bland fucking life of gas station coffee and, and sitting at my desk all day. Just the next day you go to work after seeing a movie or something like that, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, they would look on you with pity.
Yeah, they're like, what the fuck does this guy do?
Yeah, really?
Like, we're swinging lightsabers and this guy just like looks up memes at work and shit.
But I really like, the reason I brought up the movie Avatar is I really like it for a lot of reasons. And one of the biggest reasons is that it shows how magical a planet can be. And I know that a lot of what they're doing, none of it's real, obviously, but electricity on Earth is an incredibly important thing. And that's part of what I'm just fascinated by, is the electrical nature of our planet. And it's something that I'm really doing a lot of research into. And I think it is a fucking bombshell of just stuff that you wouldn't have thought about before, because you think of the Earth as like a permanent rock. You don't think of it as an incredibly dynamic, almost piece of biomachinery that runs on electricity. And that's basically what it is. And I think if you look at the movie Avatar in the right concepts and in the right context, or with the right concepts and in the right context, you can kind of extrapolate the ideas that you see in Avatar to what we can actually do here on this planet, because you can connect electrically to this planet. You are already electrically connected to this planet if you're listening to this right now, because you are an electrical entity yourself and you're an extension of the planet. So I find that fascinating.
I think that's very interesting. I think for someone to really understand what you're saying without thinking you're just like a hippie freak or some shit.
Yeah.
They take a lot more explaining of what you actually mean by that.
Probably, yeah. I may have taken a snapshot.
Yeah, but it's something I find interesting and we should definitely talk about at some point. But I'd like to give a little credit to these people that make these worlds via movies and books especially.
Yeah.
To actually detail it out with words and language to create a whole different world and different reality. Like that, to me, that's beautiful. That takes what we know, like, that's right in front of us, and someone using their crazy creative skills to just make something completely different out of it. That's got to be tough. That's got to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Unless you just, I'm sure a lot of people just think like that naturally.
And it's really natural for me, man. Like in the writing that I've done, when a chapter comes to me, I don't have any problem putting it on paper, because I think about that kind of shit a lot. And
it's funny too for me, not to interrupt you, but I know you fairly well, and you're very analytical about things. So it seems like you would have kind of that trouble of creating something brand new.
Well,
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would, but I don't. What I'm making isn't brand new. It's like a perspective that I have on the planet, and everything that I am going to talk about in these books is rooted in something that's real.
Do you think a lot of science fiction today is that way?
Yes.
Like it has that kind of underlying message to actual reality?
Yeah, and in some ways, yeah, there are some things that, well, obviously they make up shit to increase the fantasy, but at the root of things, I really think that they're kind of poking at something that is very inherently human, and that's the strive to just be better, the strive for to understand more about the realm that we're in, and being able to harness things and make technologies that right now you can't really understand, but if you look at it on a screen, it sparks this little sense of wonderment that might make you want to like make a young intellectual or a young scientist want to go out and try to find new technologies and pursue that kind of avenue.
Strive for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
I can totally see that. It can either be like incredibly depressing or very inspiring at the same time. And hopefully it works. I'm sure it works both ways for most people, but you may not be able to create a reality like Avatar. But like you said, you can still use the same principles and connect with your own planet, really connect with the people around you, connect with the nature around you, just to use Avatar for an example. Like, those kind of principles are still very real. It makes it seem foreign because it's on a different planet and they're blue people and it doesn't look anything like what we look like.
But part of me hopes that with that movie they were hoping to make people understand how special the Earth really is. That's what I like to think.
I can't see that. The only reason I say that is because, first of all, that looks way more beautiful than our Earth does.
Well, yeah, of course it does. That's part of what's trying to spark that sense of...
And then the humans in it are awful.
Yeah, they are. And that I think that represents kind of the imperialistic manifest destiny kind of attitude towards conquering the planet and its resources. It's not a matter of territory. It's a matter of control. And... You can't control this planet. I mean, I guess you can, but that
doesn't necessarily make me happy to be on the Earth with us kind of people.
No, I don't think that was their goal. Our goal is not to be happy with the people here. What I was saying is that I think it's possible that people who are writing it were using that as an avenue to show you how much of a blessing wildlife is in a way.
Gotcha.
And at least I like to think,
and at least somewhat point out the faults of human nature.
Yeah, exactly, and the people that value money over nature, and that's very much a theme of that movie. That's like a big part of that entire conflict.
Isn't it insane that like the universe gave us life, and that is already something very incredible of its own, but we would rather get rid of that just to have some fictitious piece of paper that just apparently stands for something that's not even real.
Yeah, that's because like those kind of thoughts pass through the heads of a bunch of people, and a lot of the people that are harvesting the rainforest and stuff, and cutting everything down to plant palm oil farms or whatever else it may be. A lot of the people that are doing that aren't really the ones benefiting as much from it, and the people that are benefiting the most from it are more disconnected from it. It's what it seems like. So they get the benefits, and they don't see the death that came to bring them those delicious candies that they have because of palm oil and that kind of stuff.
That's true.
They don't see it directly.
It's nice when things aren't blasted in your face, and every commercial and billboard you see makes it seem like makes it seem like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is all beautiful colors. It's very well done.
That's
like,
right.
Come and join us for our feast of fat and cholesterol.
Yeah, don't think about how this got here. Please.
Yeah. Please. You don't know how many people died bringing this to you.
That's right. You don't know how many cows we kill constantly. And
seriously.
I don't know. People just don't. That's part of my problem with people who eat a shitload of meat. It's not the meat eating itself really as much that bothers me. It does, because you can argue with me about this all you want. And I said it in, I forget which episode I said it in, the climate change episode, I think, that eating meat is more carbon costly and more energy costly than eating vegetables, a diet of vegetables. It's just a matter of hierarchy of energy. And you can look up what I'm talking about. It's just the simple principle that as you go up in the food chain, you lose more energy per capita or whatever. So
it's because things are being consumed at like a nutritious level at the bottom,
exactly,
and then have to work their way up.
Everything a cow eats doesn't go right into his body. He gives it off his heat and all this kind of stuff. He loses a lot.
It's like a human centipede type thing. You know, by the time the last person gets the food, there's pretty much nothing left.
You just had to go there.
People understand. Like, that makes sense.
I've never seen Human Centipede, never will. Science fiction. Let's talk about Human Centipede.
It's the same principle of what you were going with.
Yeah.
It's being consumed by more things. Eventually, by the time it gets to the top predator or the person in the back of the line, for this case, there's pretty much nothing left of value. And those people die.
Oh, yes. And meat is protein dense and stuff like that. I get that. It's a valuable commodity, and it's delicious. I can't deny that. But part of my problem with meat eaters, I didn't really get to that earlier, is that they don't appreciate the meat that they're eating as much as I personally think that they should a lot of the times.
It's again because you don't see it.
Yeah, right. They don't appreciate the effort that went into that. They don't before they eat their steak or whatever it is, their chicken sandwich, blah blah blah, they don't take a second to think something died for me to have this. You know?
Yeah,
I don't think that's as common a thought as it should be.
It would be quite an interesting experiment if you got people to kill their own food before they ate it.
That would be, and they that guy Justin Willman on Magic for Humans, he did an experiment with that. He like put a piece of bacon on the table. He was like giving out free bacon samples, but then he brought out like a piglet and said, "This is his mom," or something like that. And then most people didn't eat it anymore. You know?
It's that simple.
It's that kind of, and it bothers me when people want to be separated from their food. They don't want to see the death.
Right, because you want to enjoy it, but you
Right.
don't want to have to think of how it got there.
But in my opinion, you can still enjoy it. I think the appreciation of the life that was given to you is part of the enjoyment if you can appreciate it.
Yeah.
But if you can't deal with the fact that you're eating a corpse, then you shouldn't be eating it probably.
Well, and it's
I don't know.
It's easy to be desensitized.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally agree with you, and it's easy to be desensitized when, again, meat just seems normal. It's on every commercial. It's on every billboard. Every restaurant has meat for the most part. When growing up, you get meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's hard to appreciate those things when you have it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like anything else, like we were talking about with our hiking trip, with just running water. It's hard to appreciate it when you can just go get water anytime you want.
Right.
But when you don't have it, or when you have to work for it and actually kill the animal, it creates a lot more appreciation for the whole system of it. It's unfortunate that we are so disconnected, and it seems like something that's just normal and will never go away. Are you okay?
Yeah, sorry. I thought I could see your camera on the middle camera. Apologize.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
You
gonna keep talking, or are you gonna ask me questions that you already know the answer to?
Should we start over? I'm just kidding.
We got off the topic
Yeah.
anyway.
No,
Right?
it's okay. It's the fun part about it. But getting back to science fiction, I think it's a great way to show creativity. Like I said earlier, though, it can be a weird way to mislead people and give them kind of like a false illusion towards these hopes that will never be real. But it can also be good to, if you are really one of those people that just kind of wants to separate yourself completely from, your own reality for 2 hours while you watch a movie or 2 hours while you sit down and write a book. I think it's amazing that people can create such a scenario for you to do that.
Yeah, and I also think it's possible that I think you touched on it a little bit before, but I think it's possible that people who maybe recognize that they're not the smartest person in the world, and they recognize that they're not a scientist or whatever, can see movies like that, be bewildered by it, have this sense of wonderment, but also at the same time feel very insignificant because of it, and it feels like because they can't do that, then they might as well just live out their life in comfort and not really do anything else with their life. Yeah, whichever. And they just feel like they're just that good old boy. They just want to live the simple life, and it makes them feel potentially. I mean, I'm just speculating and spitballing, obviously, but potentially maybe ingrain this little thing in their subconscious that says you're small compared to other things going on the planet. Just do you. Don't try to make a change or whatever, because it won't work for you. I don't know.
I see where you're getting at. What I'd have
I'm probably just wrong as fuck.
No, well, it's an opinion. You can't really be wrong about it. But a lot of those movies are so far, like, even though they are science fiction and they have like their base in reality, a lot of them are so far out there that
far out, dude.
Yeah, it's very far out. So that people don't really have that idea of like, oh, I could be doing better, but I'm not, because that's just something completely fake. Star Wars is never going to happen. I don't have to like try to prepare society for that or anything, So
I'd be interested to know how the physics of a lightsaber work.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm sure somebody's thought about that.
I mean, you can go online. People have tried to make them and shit.
Yeah, there's no way it's worked yet.
Yeah, I don't. The
probably
thing with the
a very
lightsaber, like, if it
dangerous
is like a real light, how do you get it to stop?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It would have to be something that's either like 2 or 4 sided, and it would have to have like positive and negatives on each side, because you can create like. I have a plasma arc.
Yeah, it sounds like a big taser, pretty much.
Basically what this is, except like maybe they figure out, I don't know if any of you guys can see what I have right here, but it's a plasma arc lighter, and it has 2 points on each side and creates a beam of plasma between it, and you can light things on fire with it. But if a lightsaber were to come to fruition, it would probably be, in my opinion, something similar to this, except it would have some sort of force pushing the plasma arc up, and it would still have like a positive and negative on each side, so there can be some sort of flow of energy instead of like just stopping at the top. You know what I mean?
I'm sure a lot smarter people than me that could put that together. Maybe.
Yeah. Probably.
As far as it like being perfect for how the movie is, I doubt that'll happen because obviously it's science fiction.
Or maybe it would be like all positive on the outside and all negative on the inside. So actually at the tip of a lightsaber, it would be like a tiny indentation because it's going back towards the center. Kind of like
cool.
Like a big toroid or a big torus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For some reason I was going to say a penis, but it makes no sense.
Because you're you, Brennan.
Yeah, exactly. If you know me, it makes sense. We didn't actually talk about it. I don't know if you even thought about it, but like, I want to say just bluntly, like, where did science fiction come from? Because you have like, when you look like way back in history, you have like, the Greek gods and this sort of like mythological creatures and things like that.
Yeah.
And then it got into more like science based and actually like reality based.
Yeah.
And I wonder like kind of where that came about.
I think that's kind of, I'm glad you said it in that way, because I really think it would be part of that same kind of goal in somebody's life to make something out of things that they don't understand. They can create some sort of sciencey looking fiction that explains a crazy potential, because I guess if somebody in the past saw a character of a science fiction movie, like let's say the Star Trek Enterprise landed in ancient Egypt or some shit, that would be obviously a shock,
I would imagine so,
for the people back then. They would see them as gods. So I like the way that you said it, is that like people express wonderment through the Greek gods, and I think that's another way of expressing wonderment through science fiction. I
think some of it, and it would be interesting, especially when religion got very heavy and like the church ruled everything, and people's way of not being not being heretics and going against God and the whole story that whatever.
There's some serious censorship back in the day.
Right. So this was their way of being like, here's a crazy scientific idea for you, but it's fiction. Read this crazy story I made up, even though it may still have that like sort of like political commentary and to show that, mankind is insignificant or whatever, but at least they can put it across in a way where like the government won't kill them for it pretty much. You know what I mean? So
the government can't get away with it that straightforwardly, at least anymore.
Yeah. They have to, especially not anymore.
They have to hire a cop to kill George Floyd. Just kidding.
That's great.
Yeah, and it had to come back up. It sounded like a comedy bit. The opportunity presented itself. I brought something back up. You're welcome.
Feel free to take that line if you want.
Please like and subscribe.
That's good.
I don't have anything written down for science fiction. I've just been kind of going off the dome. This is the first subject I haven't written anything down about, just because it's all stuff I've already watched. I mean, like. If I mention some of the science fiction movies that I'm most familiar with, have you ever seen Independence Day? Mm-hmm. That movie, that was one of the movies that my dad watched like a million times over and over again. He reran that, but that's a great movie, and that's I don't know. That's one of the movies that I think of when I think of science fiction.
Science fiction is definitely more normalized now, I guess. I think for, like I said, back in the time where you couldn't really talk about things like that, it was very different. But once like the Industrial Revolution and shit happened in America, and we started realizing that we have all this sort of technology and we can do all kinds of crazy things we'd never thought of before, it just fucking blew out of the water, and people just extrapolated it so far into the future, and there's endless possibilities at that point.
And I think that science fiction too, aside from its merits, it can also be a sort of distraction from, I was trying to say that I was hoping that Avatar would bring us closer to the planet, but I think it's also possible that science fiction distracts us from some of the wonderment of our own planet, because a lot of the times I don't think it's as appreciated enough. Reality can be just as stranger than fiction. There are some very interesting forces at play on the Earth itself, especially with regard to electricity, which is why I'm so interested in it. It's something that people don't. It takes a lot to tackle. It takes a lot of effort to tackle and kind of understand the natures of electricity and to read electrical books because it's math heavy and all that kind of stuff, potentially jargon heavy. Right. But it's a mystery still.
And not only that, but there's a lot of other biological phenomena that is just interesting, how like fish glow in the sea and shit like that. Things we've talked about on here before, but I do see what you're saying. It seems that like some science fiction would just dull down our planet in general and the things that we have around us. And which is, maybe you should just go watch the Discovery Channel or something.
Maybe. That's PBS Kids.
Yeah, it's got a lot of interesting stuff about our planet on there.
Yes, it does.
So I wanted to ask you. I had a quick little list.
Let's go.
There's only a few.
Hit me.
But I looked up on Rotten Tomatoes. They're a pretty good source that judges movies. If you want to listen to their opinion, I guess.
Okay.
I didn't really have like a way to present this to you, but I looked up like top 110 movies as rated by Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
you found some science fiction ones out there?
They're all science fiction, yeah. All 110 science fiction movies, sorry. So I'm going to read you all 110.
Oh, my God.
No, just kidding. But just some good ones. I think most people know these. This is why I wrote these down. But like Back to the Future.
Yeah,
a great one. Yeah. Number actually 24.
Okay.
You can understand that.
Yeah.
Right above that, coming in at number 23, Jurassic Park.
Oh, yes.
I think that was a great one.
That's a great example of science fiction because that one is very much based in reality.
Yeah. Except for the dinosaur part.
Well, I say it's based in reality for a couple of reasons. One, people are still probably and have tried to clone dinosaurs, but apparently, according to modern science, it's not possible. At least not yet.
Not that we know about.
And dinosaurs did exist on the planet unless you're a flat earther or something.
And why we'd want to create dinosaurs now? I don't really understand that part.
I don't either. Just
to do it.
Us what it's like.
Just to do it.
Yeah, because they're magical creatures, or they were majestic.
Yeah, I guess in the way that they are illustrated in children's books. And a few, I skipped a lot, but number 14, Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, yes.
We talked about Star Wars already. And a lot of the other Star Wars were up there, but that was just the first one I saw. Number 8, Alien.
Oh.
Those are good ones.
Yes.
It's always fun to just think about aliens and other species being out there.
It is,
There's no way we can disprove it, and there's no way that we can prove it. Well, sorry, not yet anyhow. We haven't proved it. It's funny, which I saw a quote today, and I'm going to butcher it, but it was like the lack of evidence doesn't prove that something doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Just because you don't have evidence for it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Just because the sun's not out. I don't know. That's not a valid explanation right now.
Yeah.
But that's like I use that for climate change.
Yeah.
Just because like people will see the snow and be like, oh, so much for that global warming thing.
Yeah.
And then like to say, just because the sun's not out doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right, yeah.
My brother gave me that one. Thanks, Cameron.
Yeah. And God created the world in 7 days. So number 5 is Arrival, actually.
Yes,
I wrote that down. It's a good one. I was surprised, though, because it is a good movie. But to jump over like Alien and Jurassic Park and Back to the Future,
it's more of an
like
intellectual thing, and that's why I think.
Number 5 on 110 movies of all time.
Amazing.
All time. And then number 2, this one really surprised me because I haven't seen this one, which is going to be weird, but E.T.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, number 2 is E.T.
Do you remember seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey on there? I know that's somewhere up there.
I don't even know what that is. That's probably why. If I didn't know the movie, I didn't hardly write it down.
Okay.
Like if I had never seen it. Like Star Trek was up there. The new one was up there somewhere. There was a lot of them you would probably know. But E.T. surprised me. I probably saw it when I was younger. But I never really paid much attention to like the message of the movie, I guess.
Gotcha. What was number 1?
Number 1 will surprise you, I think.
You think?
I think so. It caught me off guard. Mad Max.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that one.
No, I would not have guessed that.
I was not ready for that at all.
Wow, and I really, really liked Mad Max.
That was a great movie. They did very well.
I think they were supposed to make 2 more.
Just a different type of movie, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they did.
They spent a lot of movie doing it.
It's like a post-apocalyptic type situation, right? That is definitely based in reality. I guess there's futuristic type technology too with their vehicles and the things they do. I mean, I would have never thought of that shit. That's one of the things I find so incredible about, like, I love people's art forms and the way their brains work, because there's certain things, like I'm pretty off the wall and random a lot of the time, and I feel like I think of things that a lot of people wouldn't think of. But then there's, of course, everyone or other people out there that just think far differently than I ever would. So to like watch a movie like that, or to hear certain things that people think about situations, I think it's like beautiful all in itself to just see something that my brain doesn't work in that way. And I'd like to say I'd never be able to think of a movie or a plot line like Mad Max, but at least there are people out there that can think of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's even though people may be very different than you, they could have some very interesting qualities.
That's right.
And could have a great story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
what other questions you have for me? Don't mean to hurry up or anything.
No, I think I asked most of my questions.
Because, I mean, this is going to be a short episode.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I didn't even really read it off of here as I put it, but we touched on all of them, all of my questions. So
I should look. I'm going to check for just a second to see what our next episode is. So maybe if we can go and start maneuvering the end of this episode towards that thought. In the
movie
industry in general is what we're doing next.
Just the movie industry.
So we're going to talk about the potential corruption of the movie industry, and this is going to jump into some conspiratorial thinking.
Which we kind of talked about that a little bit today, as far as how science fiction could actually be leading you to think that the future is going to have these certain type of things versus this type of thing. You know, like the things that the government has now that we are very unaware of. I doubt those type of things come into movies very often. I don't think they necessarily want us to start believing in that direction, because then you have those young people that are going to go out to strive that sort of thing. And if they don't want that information out there, it's very easy for them to, I don't want to say control the media. That sounds very conspiratorial. But there really are only a couple big media sites in the way that media is put out there, especially when it comes to Hollywood and movies.
The way I like to think of it is just placing bits of information in the right places.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that as a potential game, for somebody who has been studying the patterns of humanity for an extended period of time. I would think that somebody that has that sort of mental capacity would enjoy a little game of high-stakes chess.
Yeah. Humans need to be controlled.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you think so or not.
So, guys, if you enjoyed our little conversation on science fiction movies, we're going to continue a little bit more into it. I feel like maybe we have another about 5 minutes of discussion. But if you've enjoyed this, please, once again, like and subscribe. Show us love.
Yeah.
We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, this is one of those topics that is purely opinion-based, and I'd love to hear people's, favorite movies and why, and things like that, and just to hear how people think of science fiction. Because some people, I'd be very interested to hear that someone just doesn't like science fiction at all. That would be weird to me. I don't know.
I'm sure there are plenty of them.
Yeah, I'm sure there are plenty of them that would prefer. I like my science-based stuff, and it's very hard for me to read science fiction type books because I don't feel like I'm learning really anything, and whatever I am learning from it is kind of do I take it for true or do I not because it's in a science fiction book? I need to know the real answers here.
Yeah.
So I don't read them that much, but I do enjoy a good movie or something.
It's a refresher to get kind of taken away from reality.
It
that
is.
way, and a lot of the times, really good science fiction books books and movies will be also social commentaries. One of the best science fiction books of all time, one of my favorites, Dune.
Mm-hmm.
They're making a movie about it soon, but it is a huge social commentary. It's a very political book, and it's a very interesting book.
Yeah, see, that doesn't take me away from reality very much. If I'm going to be,
but
taken
it's on
away.
a different planet, so it does.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And it's a different societal structure and stuff. It's this guy made up, or Frank Herbert, the guy who wrote it, made up all of these nuances of the government and all that kind of stuff, and it's just kind of giving you a snapshot with the book, which is what I really admire about really extensive science fiction writers, people that write along the same line or in the same universe. And that's what I'm going to strive to do, is creating a universe and then taking a little snapshot and then presenting it to the world. That's what Lord of the Rings is. That kind of writing is very admirable.
It is. It's insane. Even if you just watching like I'm sure most people have seen Star Wars, but when they walk into the bar where he meets Han Solo, you see all these different types of creatures and things that are in there, and they all speak different languages. Like just something so simple like that takes a ton of work. Like to create all the different costumes and different faces and different species.
And for the time, that was really well done.
It's insane. I'd feel hard pressed to have to come up with all that kind of stuff. Like it's not that my brain doesn't work in that way. I guess I just don't focus on that type of stuff, so it seems abnormal to me. But I think that's how it is for most people, which is why it makes it so interesting when we do get to watch movies like that or get to see things that you just don't normally think of.
That's right.
Or don't maybe ever think of.
I find it very interesting. And science fiction movies have their goods and bads, as we kind of started to discuss. I really appreciate them. If you can do so, watch them without losing touch with your reality. You know, that's the best way that they're taken. And I think that may be a potential problem that we haven't really discussed is from a young age, if you like indoctrinate yourself with science fiction movies and you're not a skeptical mind, at least from the beginning, you might really lose touch with reality. I really don't know how much that would necessarily work.
I mean, that's what I was kind of alluding to, is it's like sometimes like if you really aren't very science literate, like where do you draw the line, or how do you make those distinctions? You either take it all as kind of I was gonna say a parable, but like you just take it all as like an illusion type story.
It's just like a big fable. Yeah.
Right. Or
I mean, you should superficially, I guess.
But you should probably take everything that way. I would be skeptical of just everything in general.
I am skeptical of everything.
Because either science fiction is just like a bunch of nerds that kind of think of this crazy way to express themselves or big messages in a different way, or we're all being manipulated.
That's right.
It's hard to know.
Maybe it's both.
Maybe it's both. There's probably some of both.
Yeah.
I'd like to think so.
All right. Well, we've talked a lot about science fiction. I don't want to keep droning on, but guys, if you have any favorite science fiction movies, please let us know in the comments. In particular, I said already, I really enjoy Avatar. We also did not talk about the Marvel movies, which kind of a travesty because they are a monumental effort of a series of movies, 22 movies that culminated into. I was obsessed with Infinity War and with Endgame when they came out. Because it's so
talk about just Marvel for forever.
Yeah, how do you not appreciate how far graphics have come?
I think it's funny too because I think there's like a very differing opinions. I've seen, of course, it's very easy to look at that kind of stuff and just be like, wow, that's insanely good how they do that. But I think you hear from like a lot of people that are kind of in the industry about like how bullshit those type of movies are, like how easy it is just to make a superhero movie, and now it's like the most popular thing, but takes no effort as actors and things like that.
But the special effects guys have their fucking work cut out for them, dude.
They have the hardest job by far.
Yeah, and that's something that I think goes underappreciated, even if a plot isn't very good.
Yeah.
If it's got good graphic design, that's something that somebody spent hours and hours, hundreds of hours on. So in that way, you should try to appreciate it.
I would love to write the lines for Thanos.
Yeah,
that would have been cool. Try to put yourself in that mindset and write the lines for it.
He was a great villain.
He was a great villain.
All right, so let's jump into some Q&A, man. We could talk about scientific.
We're gonna finish up with Q&A, and this is an ongoing discussion, as is every topic that we talk about. Things will come up again in the future, and feel free to join in on the conversation.
Please do.
So, Jay, do you think Formula One racing will be bigger than NASCAR in America ever?
No.
What about because they took down the Confederate flag?
Formula E will be bigger in America than Formula One will be.
Is that just like stock cars still?
No, Formula E is Formula One with electric cars. I think by the time that Formula One was popular in America, it would be Formula E.
I don't know. They took down the Confederate flag at NASCAR.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
There's going to be a battle.
A lot of hatred.
What do you think?
No, I totally agree with you. I don't know why NASCAR is popular, but it's like the reason that football is popular. Like just certain things we're just gonna hold on to.
We always done it.
Yeah,
it's how it's always been.
It's how it's always been. It's how it's always gonna be.
Right.
It ain't never going
Amen.
away. That's right.
Brother.
So no, I don't think Formula. Why? I have no idea. I can't answer that question.
Okay.
But no, I agree with you.
All right. What's the first difference you think of between Sharks and Casey Anthony? You know who Casey Anthony?
Isn't that bitch that killed her boyfriend or something?
Child.
Her child?
Yeah.
What is the difference between a shark and Casey?
Now, what's the first difference you think of? Come on.
Their teeth.
Okay. That was I just wrote something down, man. Their teeth. That seems like the most logical answer.
Yeah. The fact that they're 100% different.
Right. And well, I was going to say that the only really way they're similar is that they're cold-blooded killers.
Ooh, well done, sir.
Thank you.
Well done. You brought it together there.
I
was going to say they were made of like the same particles or molecules, but
well, that too.
But you did well, sir.
Thank you.
Way to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Because I was lost. Would you rather hop everywhere you go or walk backwards?
Walk backwards, I think. What about you?
Are we on the Earth? You know, if we're.
What kind of question is that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say if we were on the moon, I would rather just hop. But no, I'd walk backwards too. Hopping would get annoying.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
If you twisted an ankle or something too, you'd be toast.
Yeah. You know? Bum your ankle. All right. Would you rather rob the cradle or rob the grave? Come on.
I need to know the age limits here.
I'm not getting. This is all up to you. I was very short and to the point with this question on
the
purpose.
Cradle's too far, man. The grave.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more my style.
Anyways. Yeah, I would rob the grave as well.
I'm sure that the amount of experience by then is just unreal.
No, they don't have any dentures to get in your way. They can pop them right out. And
no. And there's a.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I don't even know what else to say about that
Moving on.
Without getting really disgusting. So, okay, Donald Trump or Donald Duck?
Donald Duck.
And did you know that Donald Duck's middle name was Fauntleroy?
Donald Fauntleroy Duck.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what I was going to tell you before we started because I just thought that was hilarious.
That's very fancy.
I had to write it down.
It'll sound really fancy when somebody kills him and eats him.
Yeah.
Put them on their plate. We have here a roasted Fauntleroy duck.
Yes.
Complete with mushroom risotto and
mushroom.
cream duck fat gravy.
Yeah.
Served with pommes frites.
This sounds like that British baking show where I can't understand any ingredient that they talk about.
The only thing I understand on the British baking show is soggy bottom.
Soggy bottom.
That's the only phrase
you don't want a pie with a soggy bottom.
No, you don't. That's a goddamn grievous travesty.
It's the reason I had to stop watching that show. Is like it's fun and entertaining, but like I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You might as well be talking about like the craziest scientific thing I've never heard of before, or something, because I don't know what you're saying.
How much money would it require for you to streak during an NBA game? NBA. The reason I'm in NBA in particular is because it's indoors and you would most definitely get caught.
Yeah. I would probably just lie down in the middle and just let them try to pick me up. You would hear like my butt making that squeak across the floor as they dragged me.
And then as they heard that squeaky noise, people would start commenting on how good the Zamboni driver was.
Ooh, wow.
Because they really waxed that floor.
How much money, man? It would take a lot. So I'd have to pay my bail because I'd probably go to jail. Yeah, that did rhyme. I wonder if they thought about that. Probably a couple million, man. I just wouldn't want to show my little thing to the world, you know.
Yeah.
It would be scared, and it'd be all tucked in. You know, it wouldn't
be like a turtle.
It wouldn't be out there going like check out my check out my
my veins.
My vasculinity, you know.
Yes, vascularity.
Yeah, it would shut up. It would just
If you're gonna say something, be right about it, bitch.
It would be scared and trying to run back inside my body. So it would take a lot of money for me to do that. Like a lot of money. I don't have that sort of self-confidence.
I don't either. It's just funny to
couple
think
mil
about.
for
I thought
sure.
It'd be a good question.
Couple mil for sure. All right, my friend. Do you think crack should be legal?
This is a tough question because
I want to know what you think and not what you think people want you to think.
No. What I think is that I believe it should be decriminalized.
Okay.
And part of what makes me want to say that is not that crack is a good thing and everybody should do it.
Well, neither is constant masturbation, but
that's true. What are you gonna do? No, but there are Portugal's the one example I know, but I'm sure there are other countries that decriminalized all drugs. Portugal decriminalized all drugs and then spent all of the money that they used to prosecute people who had drug problems on putting them through rehab instead. So, and that had an amazing impact on their drug usage rate and on their addiction rate.
Crime, incarceration rates.
And that's just something that's very hard for a lot of people to get around. I don't see that happening in America really, but I think it would work.
The argument I just don't think people really think it through, because in general, like, if crack was legal, would you go and do crack cocaine or whatever you call it? Like, would you go and try crack? Probably not. I mean, I personally wouldn't. I mean, just because it's legal doesn't make it healthy for you. I mean, it's half the majority of the food we eat is not healthy for us. People still smoke cigarettes knowing they're going to die. People still drink excessively knowing that it's going to kill them. If that's what you want to do, I don't give a shit. If you want to go sit in a corner and get hooked on crack cocaine until you die, I could not care less. It wouldn't make a difference to me. If that's how you want your reality to be and how you want your world to be and your experience through life, go for it. Just don't mess with anybody else.
I think the thing is that if they had a crack cocaine problem and they knew they had a problem and they also knew that the government would help pay to fix the problem, they would be a lot more likely to seek help.
I think that's a good point. I think it's a good point. I think there's benefits to it all around. I think when people just hear that, crack is legal, they're like, oh, what the hell is the government doing now? Right. Like there's like some big uproar, but don't take the time to think about all the benefits to it. Yeah. I mean, there won't be people, killing people behind trash cans for crack cocaine and shit like that.
There won't be people sucking dicks in alleyways for crack cocaine.
Right, exactly.
Which definitely happens.
Yeah, well, there still might be that. If you can just get it at your local dollar store, I don't know.
This is great. This leads me into my next question for you. What's worse, crystal meth or smelly crotches?
Worse for me?
Worse, period. What's worse?
Smelly crotches. The only reason I say this is because that affects me more. Yeah. The other one I don't have to give a fuck about. I don't have to ever see it in my life. But if everyone walked around with smelly crotches...
What about objectively? What do you think?
I wouldn't like that. Well, objectively, crystal meth is a lot more harmful to anyone's health than just a stinky crotch. Just take a fucking shower, spray some perfume, light a candle, and stand over it for a while or some shit. I don't know.
Part of this whole little section of our podcast is to be laughable.
Yes.
I didn't want to ask any serious questions.
No, I'm right there with you. But no. What's your answer?
Crystal meth, objectively. But if I'm talking for me, because like you said, I don't see it. Obviously, smelly crotches is worse.
Yeah. Like you imagine that, like
you just walk into Target and you just get hit with a wave of BO and spoiled mac and cheese.
They would call that Walmart. Yeah. But I imagine like you like, it's already hard to date nowadays, and then you go on like a fantastic date, you like meet someone you completely connect with, and like all of a sudden 3 days later you're like getting to the mood, and you just you pull those pants down or whatever kind of clothing there you wear, and it's just like Pepe Le Pew in there or something.
It's like a stingray died in there.
It's like, what the fuck happened here? Emi, are you going to get an erection? You're going to have complete erectus neglectus at this point. There's no way.
Early onset erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, speaking from experience. So, last question. Oh, that's good stuff. Anyways,
Classic.
Yeah. Would you brush a homeless person's teeth for 3 rocking chairs and a breadstick?
It depends on the rocking chairs. Because if they were nice rocking chairs, I could sell them for $100 a piece, and I would do it for $300.
And more than likely, that homeless person only has a couple teeth.
That's right.
So you get those 3 teeth really good, and you got yourself $300, my friend.
Yeah, and that's like two minutes max for.
No, actually, when we were at Cracker Barrel the other day, they have like a sign of those rocking chairs they sell out front. They were like $200 to $400.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, then I would do it.
Yeah.
I guess you would too, then, huh?
Ooh, I didn't really think that one through. I feel like the homeless person's gonna be asking me for shit the whole time. Like, oh, can I have one of those rocking chairs? You ain't gonna need that breadstick.
And you can give me a ride to the gas station.
Like, I'll give you the fucking breadstick. Just stop talking to me.
Hey, my baby mama is at this restaurant over here. She has said she was gonna give me her leftovers. You can drive me.
You drop me off down the street. No, bitch, you're good at walking. That's all you do.
Go ahead, Jesus.
Man,
we're both terrible people. This is good.
That's good stuff.
All right, last question. Did John Wilkes Booth kill Abraham Lincoln? Did he?
I wish you would have wrote that down. Did he?
I literally did.
Yes. Did he? Nice. Yes. I don't know how to answer that. According to legend, yes. However, maybe he was put up to it by someone. That's very possible as well.
Or maybe he was just pinned on it. Or maybe he had it pinned on him.
Maybe someone very close to...
Because nobody alive today saw that shit happen, so they could say whatever the fuck they want now.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. I mean, information wasn't spread that quickly before. Now you have people that can write the textbooks, and everybody's going to see it.
Yeah, like how often do like old people say, that's not how they taught it to us in this book, and like by that time those people that had learned it one way died off, and then there's nothing beyond that to prove them wrong. So
well, how different do we, like the South from the North, read history books, and how different is just American culture, learn about American culture versus a different country.
The winners make history. That's how that works. The winners write the history books.
That is very true.
That's something that people don't think about often.
Yeah, they make it what they want to allude to, or make
That's
it
right. Make
what
it
they
what
want
they
you
want,
to think.
Yeah, what they want their audience to see.
Yeah,
or their subjects, their loyal subjects.
Their constituents.
That's right. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us for episode 16. We appreciate your support. This is the first time we came back since the hike. We had a couple weeks off, but we wanted to start off with a light episode, and it is good to be back with you folks. So, thank you for your support, your continued support.
Yeah.
Please, if you didn't hear us before, we said it a couple times before, but like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you listened to today.
Show us some love.
That's right. Show us some love or hate, or just talk to us. We'll respond. We appreciate any kind of feedback we can get.
Yeah, honestly, I think you either have like those people who are close to you and don't want to say something mean or negative connotation behind it, and then you just have trolls. Like, I don't care for the troll. Yeah, we're gonna run into the trolls. I don't care for that. I'd rather someone close to me just be like, I disagree with what you say. It's not gonna I'm like, oh,
wow.
Yes.
If you're just listening to this podcast,
I'm gonna go back and watch that.
Wow. That was just so nonchalant. It was beautiful.
Right, that was good.
If you're listening to this on Spotify, Brennan threw a piece of paper up out of one hand, and without even trying, he was like throwing his hands up like he was throwing the paper out of severe discontent. And on the way down, his other hand caught the piece of paper and sat
right
there
between
perfectly.
my fingers. Yeah,
it was beautiful.
Right side up too.
Yeah,
I don't even know what I was saying, but anyways, feel free to disagree with us. Even if we know you and we like you, we're not going to change our opinion on you because you disagree with us.
No,
that's not how
not.
This whole sort of situation works.
That's part of why we're doing this show, is because we want people to express their opinions and then get checked on those. We want to get checked on our opinions. We're trying to just open up dialogue in general.
Yeah.
We want feedback, whether it's positive or negative. We want to expand ourselves, and we want for people to want to expand themselves as well. Yeah. That's part of the goal of this whole show. So,
it just makes it more fun for us, I think.
That's right. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you have this far, this is Cause and Defect, the show for serious conversations with not so serious people. Episode 16, Science Fiction. Thank you very much, guys. We'll be back next week with another conspiracy-ridden episode on the movie industry, the film industry. So please stay tuned for that.
Until then, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings be upon you.
Yes. I liked it, Dad.
I thought we did.